Sports Talk with the Cowboy.
Thanks for riding with the Cowboy. Tonight we're going to talk about the Super Bowl victory of the Los Angeles Rams against the Cincinnati Bengals Sunday. 23-20 victory by the Los Angeles Rams. Congratulations to the Los Angeles Rams winning the Super Bowl Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals. It was a good game. Sports Talk with the Cowboy, myself, and DJ X, we were all pulling for the Bengals, and it didn't happen. We kind of felt bad about that last drive, a lot of laundry, but anyhow, the Los Angeles Rams have won the World Championship, so congratulations to them. And we move on past the Super Bowl back to our Tampa Bay Buccaneers and news of what is happening at One Buck Place in Tampa. As you know, Todd Bowles was not hired as a head coach, and he will be back as a defensive coordinator. Byron Leftwich was not hired as a head coach, and he'll be back as an offensive coordinator. No news on the quarterback search. We're sure there is quarterback search going on, but we haven't heard the words. We probably won't hear until Jason Light introduces the new quarterback. We still feel that'll be before March 10th when free agency starts with the Bucs and all the other NFL teams. There's been chatter of different players and different quarterbacks, but we don't have any information. We still have 23 free agents to sign by March off the 53-man roster of last year. And so that has to be done, but we know that we're going to have a quarterback first so that they can introduce him to the team. And the team will know who the quarterback is and to make their decisions on whether they're going to stay with the Buccaneers post-Tom Brady. Repeat, post-Tom Brady. So that's about what's going on over at One Buck Place. With it not much chatter going on over there, a lot's being done, if you know what I'm saying. Sure, they're vesting and vetting a lot of quarterbacks that they might want to go for a trade with or, get in free agency, but they're going to have to get them now. If they want to get that free agent jump before the first day of free agency, which we all know in the NFL, after that first day, it's a lot of the players are gone within the first 48 hours. 2 days prior, you kind of get a sense on who's going where. It's that important, this free agency period. So we'll keep you posted here on Sports Talk with the Cowboy on what is transpiring at One Buck Place. And now we're going to talk about this Sunday's big race, which is the granddaddy of all NASCAR races, which is the Daytona 500. The Great American Race is Sunday in Daytona, and it'll be the biggest crown jewel of NASCAR. The biggest race of the year. There's 35 more, but there's only one Super Bowl, and that would be the Daytona 500. Our favorite here with Sports Talk with the Cowboy would be Michael McDowell in the 34 Loves car, Front Row Motorsports, as of course he won his only races in NASCAR Winston Cup driver last year at the Daytona 500. And so we'll be tuning in Sunday to see how he does on the Super Speedway. He does seem to do pretty good there. Now we're going to go talk a little bit about spring training baseball and the continued disruption in the labor situation between the Players Union, the Major League Baseball, and the owners. There's not yet a strike, so to speak, but they have not reported to camp. The pitchers were supposed to report to camp last week. So the pitchers and catchers were already supposed to be in camp. They're not. And they're negotiating a new player collective bargaining agreement, which is always a booger to work through, and they're working through it as we speak. So there is going to be a delay. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention the 12 Hours of Sebring coming up March the 16th, the 70th running of the birthplace of American endurance racing at Sebring. Here at our home track, Cadillac is practicing as we take this broadcast. The Chip Ganassi team with the new Cadillac motor is out with their driver Hunter Ray and Sebastian Bordeaux at the track as we tape in the independent test. So just want to throw a little bit of WeatherTech endurance racing in there with me tonight as we talked about NASCAR. And now we're going to go to the question and answers. And we have a question here from Bill. And Bill wanted to know what I thought about the Atlanta Falcons draft for next year. And I've talked about the Atlanta Falcons, Bill, before. I know that Arthur Smith, the new coach up there, is going to be looking for some players to help Matt Ryan out this year. They have a good new tight end from the Carl Pitts, one of the great tight end rookies that came out of Florida last year. They need some players. They need some defensive ends. They need some pass rush, and they need a running game to take a little bit of stress off Matt Ryan and throwing the ball. So, Bill, we'll see a lot in free agency and see where they go. They have some of the pieces in Atlanta. They're not that far off in Atlanta. And they're going to have free agency coming in March, and then the draft in April. And then we'll have a lot better idea of what the Atlanta Falcons will look like, Bill. So thank you, and God bless you for your question. And the next question is from Julie. And Julie wanted to know, what about the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback situation for next year now that Ben Roethlisberger has retired as Steeler? Well, they have Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins on their roster. Neither one of them will be the starter next year with Pittsburgh. They'll go out and get a free agency quarterback just in short order, Jill. I have no doubt that a free agent quarterback will show up in Pittsburgh, and he'll be there a good while. And they might go through the draft and get one, but I doubt it. Mike Tomlin will probably get a veteran quarterback. They've got a pretty good team there. They've got a good running back, good receivers, and a good defense. They need to add a little bit of defensive pass rush. And some of their good cornerbacks, Joe Hagan's one of them, is a free agent, so they need to re-sign him. But overall, Jill, the quarterback situation will be determined in free agency or a trade prior to the middle of March. You'll know by the third week of March who your new quarterback will be next year at Pittsburgh. And that'll be a big difference maker in what we can assess the Pittsburgh Steelers' chances the next year. But I'm sure it'll be a good one, Jill, because Pittsburgh is a good organization, Mike Tomlin a good coach. So God bless you, and thank you very much for your question. DJX, what you got for me tonight?
Well, Cowboy, you know how it goes. We got the internet out here on the buzz about this Super Bowl. Some of them seem to think that Cincinnati was a little bit robbed. What you think about that?
Well, DJX, God bless you for your question, and yeah, I think they was robbed too. To be honest with you, you don't want to say it. You know, we the media, we don't supposed to say things against the NFL, but let me just say it like this. There was a lot of laundry coming out of a lot of pockets on that last drive against the Los Angeles Rams, okay?
A lot of
linen. I was in a room with a person, and I said to him, there's going to be a holding call. We laughed, and guess what? There was a holding call the next play. Listen, a lot of laundry came out. We all saw it.
Yeah.
There's a couple pieces of laundry came out. The one that Vernon Hargrave, the Bengal, ran out on the field without a uniform. He got a penalty. And then on the altercation with Aaron Donald on the sideline, a couple of the offensive linemen, Cincinnati didn't like him shoving Joe Burrow out. There was a little confrontation there, and they got a penalty. So we only had 2 penalties into that last drive. Right. And on that last drive, we must have had 8 or 9. So what happened on that thing? I mean, if you're going to be a referee, DJX, and you're going to say to him, hey, this is how we're going to play. So the first play, you kind of gauge the referee, and this is what they're calling, this is not what they're calling. Then the important drive of the game, all of a sudden, after you've had the whole game to feel out what the referees are going to call and not call, they're calling off the wall.
Man, it like totally threw me. But at the same time, I kind of had the feeling it was going to go that way just because, yeah, definitely Cincinnati, the underdogs, they never won a ring before ever, and it would have been their first. But, you know, sometimes you just got, other people got more riding on the game than...
Well, you got to wonder.
You know what I'm saying? So it just, you know, don't get me wrong, the Rams did have some good running plays. Like, I did think that their offense dominated Cincinnati's defense. I definitely feel that because there's no one that can hold Cup.
That's right.
Ain't nobody that can hold him.
That's right.
And then all he had to do was get loose on any aspect of the field, and the man that was guarding him just couldn't hold him.
Couldn't stop him.
He couldn't stop him at all. So he was definitely the go-to guy as far as the Rams scoring points.
That's right. And nothing against them trying, but like we said, it was just they didn't establish those perimeters that first, second, third quarter, you know. And if you're a player, you got to kind of figure what they're going to do. Now, this is the most important drive of the game, so you got to kind of figure, okay, we played the whole game, so I kind of know what they're going to do. You know, how the referee's going to react to certain plays. These penalties were coming, and some of them were ticky-tacky, and it wasn't one penalty. It was just penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty, and it wasn't going but one way.
And not to mention, their quarterback was a little sloppy.
Oh, yeah. He threw two picks.
Two picks.
Two picks. Two.
And that's just, You don't want to do that in the
And,
Super Bowl.
and you know, we did see.
That damn near warranted you
Yeah.
to lose.
And we seen a penalty on Ramsey on a touchdown to T. Higgins where he face masked him or kind of grabbed his face.
Yeah.
Okay, and it wasn't called. Okay, I understand that. So you kicking, but on that final drive, if you'd have been a player, what's your perception of what you could do and couldn't do on holding, on pass interference, getting too close? Listen, that was all blown out of the water. These pass interference calls, if you notice, wasn't just egregious. They were just, okay, maybe he'll call it, maybe he won't call it at best. Some of them were just, 3 or 4 of them, I don't even know that they were penalties. So the NFL's got to ask themselves, why was that? Why was that?
I could have accepted them calling that face mask.
Right, absolutely.
I could have accepted that. You seen it was broad daylight. Everybody seen it.
It was a face mask.
So it was a face mask.
It was a face mask.
He shouldn't have been able to. That should have been a dead play.
Dead play right there at the ball.
Dead play right there.
Yeah, right.
So I didn't agree with that. It's like, what do you guys see? Are y'all seeing the same thing we seeing? Because y'all calling shit that really didn't happen, and then you not calling stuff that did happen.
There you go. And
so
that's how it was.
It was confusing.
It was confusing.
It almost make you think, was the game rigged?
Well, you gotta listen, with all the gambling. Listen, you gotta think now. Listen again. If the consistency was we're calling them from the jump, from the start of the game, okay. But as we talked about the face mask, you wouldn't even call that. But now at the end of the game, you're calling anything. You're calling sweat falling off a guy. You're calling touching him with your elbow. You're talking about trying to get up there by him to try to stop and make a pass.
But you didn't call the face mask.
You didn't call the face mask. You wasn't calling no penalties, hardly. And
throughout the whole game.
Through the whole game. So how is you a player on that last drive, how in your mind are you going to know, well, these referees are going to call it? They're not. But they did. They did. So, I didn't like it. The Rams won it. They're the world champions for all you people in California. But let me tell you something. You can't like how you won.
No,
you can't like how you won. I just don't like to win that way. I don't like a penalty flag of any sport to determine the winner. I just don't like it.
And that's what it was. That's what it turned out to be.
That's what it was.
It almost made me feel like you didn't win it fair and square.
That'll always be in my mind. I think, and as much as we
I could have accepted overtime and y'all won.
Then that'd have been even, and it'd have been somebody won.
Yeah.
Okay. But of course, if the drive wouldn't have made them a touchdown, if they'd only had to kick a field goal, they'd have lost by a point.
Because truth being told, Cincinnati ran a better game than the Rams.
They played better than the Rams.
They played better than the Rams.
They played better than the Rams.
That is definitely my opinion.
They weren't the man. They didn't have all the quote unquote superstars. Donald, Stafford, Cup. They had Joe Burrow. Listen,
he did damn good.
Joe Burrow played a hell of a game.
He almost threw a perfect game.
Hell of a game. And he got sacked 7 times. He was running for his life every time.
Yeah.
Just think about what would happen if the guy had a line. What would happen if Mike Brown would go and get 3 linemen to block for the guy? The guy had 7 sacks.
Oh, if he had some protection, he'd have been awesome.
Think about
He'd
it.
have threw a perfect game if he had protection.
Think about it. And maybe next year it will be. So
maybe.
I didn't like the ending. I sure didn't like the ending.
Not at all.
But it's ended now. The Rams got their parade. And
I'm looking forward to the USFL now.
USFL coming in spring. We're going to have a spring league, and as you know, the Bandit's going to be there. Next week is the draft of the players. They have a draft pool, they call it, and they will select running backs in order of the position. It's not exactly like the NFL. Before I leave, I want to say all the comments I got on my shirt that I wore in the last show. I appreciate the comments, and thank you, Trudy, for the shirt. God bless you. I love you for giving me that shirt, and it must have brought me luck because we had more viewers of the last show than we have since we started our program. So God bless you. Thank you all for support. We expect to continue to hear from your comments. We'd like you to share with your friends. Have your friends subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe and leave us those comments so we can put your questions on air. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless you, Cowboy out.